All right, y'all, welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of hashtag CB99 Talks. This is episode 81. Of course, I'm Combo Breaker 99. And welcome back, fight fans. Welcome back. Back with another episode. Got some good topics for y'all today. Got some more, good WMMA news that we need to talk about over here, of course. But before we do that, just make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel, Combo Breaker 99, and subscribe to these platforms where CB99 Talks can be heard. iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, Tuned In, all of that. Just go there and you can hear this show over there exclusively. Pretty soon, I think. Pretty soon, if YouTube keeps messing with the subscriber, I'm gonna start putting the show over there. Maybe when I hit episode 85 or 90 for sure. But yeah, man. We had a lot of different things going down. Over the past few days. No fights coming up this weekend. But I just want to go back and talk about UFC 270 a little bit, and just a lot of interesting things going on behind the scenes over the past few days. From last Saturday up to now. I'm recording this episode on Friday right now. So yeah, man. Let's talk about UFC 270 a little bit. I want to talk about the co-main event, the main event, and I do want to go in on the topic, the discussion with Francis Ngannou and Dana White, in their relationship, and the whole money situation going on there. I want to talk about that a little bit. And then I want to talk on Kayla Harrison, re-signing the PFL. What's the direction of Kayla Harrison going, from here? What's her direction? What does she plan on doing? And what I think she's going to do. I just want to give you my opinion on that. Cris Cyborg and Cat Zingano. I seen some more replies from Cris Cyborg here, since the video I did last night. There's been some more talk between these two, so got to go in on that a little bit. And of course, these young knuckleheads in the flyweight division. No, they are some knuckleheads in the flyweight division, right? This is the knucklehead syndrome. I think, I see this not just in the fight game, out everywhere. We always have these young fighters calling out, the more established king of the division. You know what I mean? Like anywhere, not just the fight game. People are always trying to call out the successful one before they even lay down the groundwork or the hard work. So let's talk about these young flyweights. Let's talk about these young flyweights that are so vocal about the champion. We can do a little comparison to the way Casey O'Neill said it and the way Erin Blanchfield had said her little piece in her interview, So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about these young flyweights when they come up, right? I like the energy, but let's discuss it. But, yeah, let's go back, man. UFC 270 was solid, of course, last Friday. Shout out to Brittany Cloudy. I talked about that in the live stream. Shout out to Brittany Cloudy. She scored a first-round stoppage over Annette Nichols a week ago. Staying active. Need to see more of her. I think she's going to be, one of these new bloods that needs to be signed to the UFC pretty soon. You know what I mean? Like, just stay active and keep working, polish her craft, and we might be seeing her in like another year or two over there. But yeah, shout out to Brittany Cloudy. But yeah, UFC 270 had some good fights. I know a lot of people didn't really like the card as a whole, but I enjoyed it. There were some good fights on the prelims, of course. Shout out to Jasmine, Jazzy Vicious, as I like to call her. Jazzy Vicious scored a solid dominant decision win in her UFC debut over Kay Hansen. Pretty much beat Kay Hansen right back down to 115. I think Kay Hansen already got another fight lined up, in the UFC for strawweight division. That's how quick she jumped back down to 115, y'all. But Jazzy Vicious, she went in there, did what she had to do, utilized her size, and like I pretty much eyeballed it. I was like, this girl looks like a bantamweight. And I know on fight night she did come in at like 135 or something, 136, 135, something like that. So yeah, she's got size, she's got strength. I think she just needs to work on her defense a little bit, like I talked about. But I think she could be possibly a good addition to the, as far as like one of these threats to the contender, the top 10 contender. I don't know about the champion yet, but maybe up into that level when she gets to like, 9, 10, 11, and so on, right? Just needs to work on a few things. And, yeah, as for Kay Hansen, she's going back down in weight. That's where she needs to be. Shout out to Vanessa Demopoulos. She went in there, got it done versus Juarez. Juarez, oh, man, like, that's what I'm talking about, lack of IQ. Juarez was supposed to go in there and stop this girl, let her get back up and stop her. Let her get back up and drop her again. That's how you're supposed to work it. I know she got excited, but I've said this in the past about Demopoulos. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think I may be watching these fighters more than the corners do, because the thing I studied about Demopoulos is that every time she gets hurt, she's dangerous. She's even more so dangerous. If you drop her, you got to be careful. Do not go down to the ground with her. She's like a Venus flytrap. I'm serious. Like, that's the one thing I could have told her if I was in her corner. I'm just saying, like, I've watched all her fights, and I'm like, this girl can walk through fire. Like, this girl you can take her eyes out, you can cut her up, and she'll still keep coming. You know what I mean? She's Jason Voorhees in there, like, with it. Like, no great technique or great skill, but it's the fact that when she gets hit, she'll come back even harder. And when you go down to the ground with her, that's all she wants. You know what I mean? So you're kind of giving it to her. So I could have told her that. I would say, you got the strike in here. Let's knock her down. Let's knock her out. Let's just go for the knockout. If you drop her, let her get back up and we finish her. That's what I could have told her, because I've been watching her fights, and I was always like, watch this. If she gets dropped, or if she's even behind, she's dangerous to the very last round of the fight. So I got to give Demopoulos a lot of credit there. Like, she's not a quitter. That's the one thing I like in a fighter. She has a lot of heart. I like her energy. She's fun. Not necessarily like this big threat to the strawweight division, but, she just adds a little nice addition as far as somebody that likes to fight and, go in there and have fun with it and never quits. That's what I'm saying. Like, if anything, that's something that people can learn from. Like, it's never over till it's over. You know what I mean? Like, you can get knocked down. You can get put on your back in life, but it's not over until you quit. But if you keep going, hey, you can get right back up, and she showed that. So, I got to give Demopoulos a lot of credit there. That was the only WMMA cards we had on the WMMA fights we had on the card. But let's talk about Figgy, Brandon Moreno real quick. My thoughts: I enjoyed that fight. Co-main event was solid. I could watch these two fight many times because their styles just kind of like complement each other when it comes down to it. Like, I don't think one guy's ever going to just completely go like on a big streak against the other. Like, I don't ever see like Moreno winning 7 times out of 10 or 8 times out of 10 or Figgy winning 9 times out of 10. It's always going to be even. It's going to be like 4 to 5. You know what I mean? Like, because their styles, they just have the ability to nullify each other at different periods. It depends on what the situation is, but they just can't do it. There's always going to be that one moment where they might score a knockout here and there, but when it comes down to, I think they just can figure each other out when they're at their best, when it all comes down to the line here. It's kind of like Pacquiao Marquez. They're working on their 4th fight, I think, here now. They're 1-1-1. So, I think it's just that type of situation. They got that type of rivalry. But Moreno, I think he just lacked a little bit of urgency in this fight. I know he was the champion, but it was on him to go in there and finish this guy again, or just keep him at bay. He let Figgy jump right in there and get them body shots. Not the body shots, but the leg kicks going. Moreno had good body shots. It was Moreno who was lowering them combinations to the body. But Figgy, he was chopping that lead leg down. He could not miss with the leg kick. The overhand right was on point. He was dropping Moreno. Scored knockdowns, got a takedown or two. So he was taking these rounds. So I had to give him the fight. I had it 3-2. Even more so, I had it 4-1. I thought Figgy was taking these rounds. Very competitive, but he was winning. So shout out to Figueiredo. He did it what he was supposed to do. Made those adjustments. Got a good trainer in his corner, Henry Cejudo, and made those improvements. Francis Ngannou, the main event, Francis Ngannou versus Cyril Gane. I like the different levels that Ngannou showed. I like the striking of Gane. He just needs that next level. He needs to be able to mix it up. He's better takedown defense and just has to stay on his jab and his leg kick. His jab is a beautiful thing. Jab was good, inside leg kick was good, but the minute he let Ngannou close that distance, Ngannou took him for that ride. You know what I mean? Like, rounds 3, 4, and 5, it was all Ngannou. Now, striking clinic, the first 2 rounds, you can see the speed difference and just the technique. Cyril Gane, that's him all the way. But Ngannou said, okay, if I can't find this big punch, if I can't punch with him or close the distance for sure, let me get this fight down to the ground and I'm going to keep it there. And he did that. He utilized his beautiful wrestling, for 3 rounds. Usman was really rubbing off of him in this fight. That's what I like about champions, when they can, feed off of each other. They're not necessarily competitive with each other or, trying to outbest the other. especially when there's separate weight classes. But, they can really form that brotherhood. You know what I mean? I love that in Usman and Ngannou. That's what I like to see. And, guys like that, brothers like that can just get together and say, no jealousy. We want to see each other thrive. So they rub off on each other. You see this guy, Ngannou, the wrestling's rubbing off on him, and then you see the jab and the knockout power, Ngannou rubbing off on Usman, right? But I just think that in this fight, Ngannou, he could have worked the jab a little bit more. That probably could have got him his knockout. But other than that, he put on a great performance to me. I enjoyed it. I love to see the well-roundedness in these fighters, start to really come out. But yeah, man, let's talk about Ngannou just a little bit as far as the behind the scenes. So Dana White, I caught this today. He went on record to say that, these idiot fans need to just be quiet because he wasn't showing Ngannou respect because he had to leave because he had stuff to do or something like that. Because, he did put the belt on Figgy whenever he won the belt. A lot of people noticed that Dana wasn't there when it came down to the main event. I'm talking about this your main event, right? Why does something come up right then at the main event? So he's going on record to say that something happened. He had to step out and he couldn't make it there. But he'd been, shaking hands and talking to Ngannou all week, right? But that's what he said, But anyways, I just kind of thought that was strange myself. But that's his, argument to that. He said he had to go. Stuff came up. But let's talk about the situation with Ngannou as far as the money. I'll be brief on it here, but I just think Ngannou right now, he's in a position where, he should be treated like the superstar that he is. You know what I mean? He is that guy that's bringing in, he's bringing in a lot of fans. He's bringing in new fans to the sport. And right now, I think he's really dealing with a lot. Ngannou also, his manager had to deal with being sent the text about being sued for discussing, possibilities of a Jake Paul fight with Jake Paul's manager. That was something that kind of they tried to do right before the fight that was going to throw Ngannou off, right? And then, just all these other things that Ngannou was dealing with of not being able to, step out of the box and try to build his brand. I kind of think that things need to be fixed for these UFC fighters, especially the ones, on every level. I think it should be worked out where, these fighters can take boxing matches like this, because the UFC, okay, I understand that this is a company and they want the fighters to just focus on the UFC, but they have to understand that when it's all over, these fighters still need something to fall back on as far as financial wise, just looking back at some of these tweets too. I have to pull it up right now. Let me see if I still have them. But just looking at how everybody's kind of been looking at the UFC's pockets right now, it kind of makes you say that Dana White is kind of in that hot seat where he has to start kind of looking at these situations here where, you might have to start giving into these fighters and saying, meeting some of these demands, especially for these superstars like Ngannou and, John Jones. I know they're not like Conor McGregor status, but your heavyweights that are bringing in knockouts and bringing in exciting fights. I mean, last weekend was Ngannou's first decision win, right? Every other fight's been a stoppage win for him, so why he's not being treated like or getting paid more, I don't understand that. I mean, it's on record now that his pay was, $600,000. And then I saw somebody else tweet out. Let me see if I can find that tweet here real quick while we're talking. Yeah, here we go. Andreas Hale on Twitter, he posted this up. He said the total combined payout for every fighter for UFC 270 was $1.8 million. Fury made $30 million in his third fight against Wilder. Wilder made $20 million. Fury and Wilder made 25 times more than all the UFC fighters combined. Tell me that UFC fighter pay isn't an issue. So, yeah, it is a bit of an issue. Like, I'm trying to understand where Dana's coming from as far as him saying this is a company and it has to be run like a company where fighters get paid, going by their pay grade and how high they are ranked. But going by this combined 1.8 million, I'm like, y'all got to do better than this. Like, where's all this other money going, Like, where's all this other money going, especially when pay-per-views going up? Pay-per-views up to like $75 now. ESPN Plus is, everybody's increasing their rates. Like, why? This is how it always works. Like, even in real life, rent goes up, but pay goes down. Like, what are y'all trying to do here? Like, when rent goes up, pay should increase, right? Same with the UFC. Like, pay-per-views going up, but why is fighter pay going down? That doesn't make any sense, especially whenever you see these fighters in boxing that are making this top dollar like this. It's definitely going to make these superstars in the UFC and these champions start questioning their pay. Even if they don't get 25 million, they're still going to say, why am I not touching M's yet, right? Like, look, Marino here made 200,000, Figgy made 150 grand, Cyril Gane made $500,000, and then next to him is Ngannou with 600,000. You would think Ngannou, being the heavyweight champion of the world, would come in and he'd touch an M. He didn't even make $1 million. I'm sure he made a little something off the back end, but his overall top pay was 600,000. So I'm thinking that's your champion. He wants to say, hey, look, why am I not, he wants to be making that money. He's asking everybody, like, why am I not making this? Why am I not making this? Like, what's the holdup? But then when I try to go off and do something like boxing, it's an issue. I'm about to get sued. I'm about to be hit with the lawsuit, right? So my thing is, work with these fighters' pay, or start being a little bit more lenient in these contracts where they can go off and do other things like Bellator. You know what I mean? Like, I know they see these other organizations competition, but this is with boxing. And Ngannou already stated in another interview, he's like, look, I'm just trying to box. He was like, I'm just trying to box. He was like, I don't know why that's a problem. They need to fix that in my contract. I just want to go box, because he was talking about a potential fight with Tyson Fury, and he'd like to make some money off of that. And I think maybe it was like in negotiations, or, not even negotiations, just some talk with his manager and Jake Paul's manager about trying to put something together like that. And that's just what he wants to do. I mean, he just wants to still be a UFC fighter, but he wants to be able to do something else where he can make that bag, because he knows that when it all comes down to it, when it's over, he's going to be there for himself. For instance, Zingano is looking out for himself. That's what it is. So they need to work that out, like, especially whenever it comes down to like a UFC fighter, they want to go off and box. That's fine to me. That should be fine. I don't know why that's an issue. Like, it's not stealing MMA fans at all. It's just maybe bringing more fans to unify. If anything, it'll introduce MMA fans to boxing and vice versa. So if he wants to go do that, that's fine. It's almost like, since he knows he'll probably make like $20 million, they're pissed off. Like, oh, he might retire at that. Who knows? He'll still probably fight. But even then, for instance, Zingano, how many fights, he probably thinking to himself, I don't know how many fights I have left. Anything can happen. So I think it just comes down to Dana White. He's just not being fair with some of these fighters. And he went on record to pull out all these, he pulled out all this evidence, all these receipts talking about, he was breaking it down one time about how the pay goes. Like, nobody's saying you got to pay $1 million to your unranked fighters or your fighters that are like, 12 and 10. I think we understand that. But when it comes down to the ones that are really bringing in the money and the fans, like Ngannou, yeah, they deserve to touch M's. They deserve to touch M's, So that's just pretty much my take on that. I think there just needs to be some type of fix in their contract, especially these guys like this that are on top, to venture out and build their brand through other ways like boxing. Boxing and MMA are two different things, especially when these fighters, I don't think they're getting any stipends like PFL, right? And you're definitely not getting a pension like the NFL. Like, when these fighters retire, they got to make sure they have money or their hands in something else, because they're not being taken care of. This ain't the NFL. So they've got to get whatever they can, or get it however big they can, whatever bags they can get. So I respect that, man. So they need to fix that for Ngannou, or they're going to lose him, And I think if they lose him, they're going to lose a lot of fans. So they need to work something out, man, for real. But, yeah, man, we'll talk more about this. Like I said, I just kind of want to give you my thoughts off top on the situation. I mean, a lot of things said, from both sides here. But, I just side with Ngannou in this situation here, just because it's like, I understand where he's coming from, that, it just seems like he's been having a hard time. He's been dealing with a lot, even mentally, especially since he's an African champion. It seems like they're just trying to, use him more so. But, yeah, man, let me know what y'all think in the comment section, though. Next topic. Let's talk about Kayla Harrison though a little bit here. I know I did a video a few days ago. Kayla Harrison, I think it's pretty much solid that she is going to re-sign the PFL. I read through the interview the other day. And she talked about she just wants to go back to the PFL. If she's going to go back to the PFL, if the money is life-changing, if it's good money, if it's stable, if there's good competition for her, and so on. And I've talked about that. Like I said, I think that's a good situation. So let's kind of go back into that a little bit, because PFL actually has a new roster up here. But with this new roster, I definitely got to cover some new points here with Kayla Harrison here, because this kind of tells us now like what level Kayla is on right now, like what level she can be on, and just what level I think she's going to be content at. Because let's see, yeah, they got a new crop of fighters in here, about 8 fighters for the next series of 2022, which starts Friday, March 4th. PFL Challenger Series 2022, Friday, March 4th. Yeah. So it's looking like Kayla Harrison is going to go back to PFL, like I said. And I think at this point, why not? Why not? It all comes down to, like I said, it's all coming down to who's going to take care of you. Like I said, I know Kayla, she does a lot of talk. She's brash, but that's part of being an entertainer and being a fighter and just carrying that energy about you, especially if you are a fighter. You can't be soft, right? You got to be some type of character, even if you are on a lower level, even if you're not as good as Amanda Nunes or Cris Cyborg, you still got to be some type of fighter, especially if you are carrying a belt and you're undefeated, right? I understand that. So for Kayla Harrison, I think it's a good idea if she just re-signs to PFL, because really in the long run, the UFC doesn't really offer her anything. They don't offer her a lightweight division. They don't offer her a featherweight division. All they offer her is maybe a one-off fight, which they rarely do, and they're not going to offer her the steady money that PFL is giving, that type of stipend, that type of those type of checks that come in, those $1 million paychecks, because what Amanda Nunes, how long did it take how long was it for her to touch some M's, in her championship fights? She was still hitting 6 figures, where Kayla Harrison can go in here and get that $1 million payday and some guaranteed wins, right? I know it's not good for the fans, but I mean, for a fighter like Kayla's status that wants to go in there and just get a bag and, just say, okay, look, we can go in there, fight this type of level. We already know what's coming. The script is kind of written for us. Boom, that's a good deal for her, business-wise, for taking care of her family. But for the UFC, we don't know what they can offer her. She jumps over there, she's going to probably deal with the same thing Francis Ngannou is, right? Exclusive to the UFC. You can't go off and do Invicta or Bellator. Like if she signed, being signed with PFL, she can do Invicta or Bellator, right? Or if she signed to Bellator, she could do PFL or Invicta. But if you go to the UFC, it's going to be an exclusive contract, and I don't think she wants to be locked down like that, especially when her and Dana White aren't really seeing eye to eye, But those are like the main reasons. I think the money and no competition as far as a built division. All there is a Amanda Nunes fight. That's it. That's all. If she goes to Bellator, I think that would be her better choice, because I think they would be more flexible. The money's there, I think, because Cris Cyborg, she signed a solid deal. She signed a solid, 10-fight deal with them. Probably the biggest they said for any WMMA fighter. So I think maybe Kayla could probably do maybe the second biggest, or the same number that Cris Cyborg does. So that would be interesting, I think that would be her best bet, because I think that would be the one fight that people would want to see, because Amanda Nunes, since she lost, she's kind of on her own road now. She's on a different road, where if she went over here to the featherweight division, it's possible, because there is a division, there's competition there for her, and she could go from there. That's if she wants to do that. But right now, if she goes back to PFL, I think that's fine, because Julia Budd is over there now, so there could be a possible fight between her and Julia Budd. And who knows, like, if she beats Julia Budd, that might lead to a Cris Cyborg fight. Who knows, right? If she can beat her. But, yeah, I just think that Kayla Harrison, on her level, and how she's moving just needs to stay with the PFL. Because let's see, they got a new sign. Like I said, they just got a new signee here. Let me pull up the whole card here of new Ross fighters they signed. Let's see, Cynthia Veskin, Jackie Cataline, Martina Genrova, Jacqueline Cavalcanti, Julia Dorney, Jesselyn Michelle Montag, and Olivia Parker. Olivia Parker, y'all know her from Bellator. But I don't know, man. Like, some of these fighters I think are 0-0 too. I think some of these fighters haven't even fought yet. So if you look at it in the fan perspective and like the WMMA analyst perspective, these aren't the best fighters for her, in my opinion, you know. So I think if she's just going for the money, fine, this is where she goes. But if she really wants to build her status, I think she needs to go to Bellator, because with these type of wins, I'm still going to keep her on that same level. But if we're talking financial status, if that's all she's looking at, fine, go back to PFL. But just stop calling out names like Cris Cyborg and Bellator and Amanda Nunes if you're never going to take those fights or take the road that needs to get there. That's the main point of, you know, what I try to get out when I'm talking about Kayla Harrison. You know, I respect the money moves because, yeah, she's taking care of her family, like I talked about before. You know, she's taking care of her family, that's fine. But if she's not really going to go for that legacy status, you know, I think she should just, you know, avoid talking about those type of fights for real. Yeah, that's my thoughts on that. But let's jump to this next topic here. Oh, boy, man. I've been talking about this over the past couple of days now, right? Cris Cyborg and Cat Zingano. You know, everybody's been talking about Cris and Cat as of lately, and shout out to Cat Zingano. You know, she definitely put some she definitely put some spotlight on her name, you know, put some shine on her name with this one just to kind of get her out there and get some promotion on her again. Yeah, as y'all know, Cat Zingano, first of all, Cris Cyborg did an interview and she talked about Cat Zingano declining the fight. You know, she said, okay, the March 11th date is open, so maybe that means it's going to be me and Cat. And, you know, I know Scott Coker, he did say that that's the fight they were going to target for March 11th, right? But why they didn't make the fight, I don't know, you know. But according to Cris Cyborg, she said it's because Cat Zingano declined the fight. She wanted another fight before she faces her, right? And then in another breath, Cat Zingano goes to Twitter, shakes things up and says Cris Cyborg refused the drug test, right? So Cris Cyborg, she responds, and, you know, she basically said, hey, we can do this on your terms. Like, I don't know why you know, where this came on, you know, but, hey, we can do this on your terms. Just say when, you know. So it's kind of been a back and forth. Now people are saying, is Cris Cyborg juicing or is Cat ducking? You know, which is it? And I gave you my opinion in my last video, but there's some more recent replies from Cris Cyborg that I had missed here. And she did go in. She did fully respond. Like, she didn't just say on your own terms. But Cris Cyborg had this to say. She said, look, Cat, why are you lying? I haven't refused any drug tests. I'm ready whenever you are. Behind the scenes, you keep saying to Bellator, you need more time to prepare for me. You need a different opponent first. Now you go on social media with lies and smear campaigns and excuses. Sad. All right. So we all know the history of Cris Cyborg. You know, about a decade ago, Cris Cyborg had popped. You know, she popped back in 2011 during that Gina Carano fight, right? Or after that fight, right? And that definitely put a dark cloud over her head. You know, everybody was already kind of suspect about Cris Cyborg. And like I said, I remember that too, because I was pissed off at time as well, you know, that she would do something like that. And when fighters do things like that, I do look at them in a different way. You know, no, but, you know, over the past few years, Cris, she's been coming up clean. And, you know, I know not everybody's perfect, so I've been having to give her more respect that she's just been going in there and working. But like I said, that dark cloud always remains there, so you do have to think about that type of stuff. But over the past decade, she has been tested more and more, and she's been coming up clean, right? So in that aspect, you know, I have to say, okay, look, I have to move forward now. I have to move forward. She's been clean, you know? So with that being said, you know, okay, I know where some people come from when they bring that up, but like I said, she's been with Bellator now. She's been active. She's been a champion. Why would she try to throw all that way by, juicing? That's the way I have to look at that, right? Especially when it's a time when she's nearing the end of her career. She wants to fight the best. She wants to solidify her legacy. Then you got a fighter over here in Cat Zingano who leaves the UFC, the signs with Bellator, and calls Cris Cyborg out, right? So, yeah, okay, I know Cat Zingano was not scared of Cris Cyborg. It's not a fact of being scared, but it's a fact of being not ready. That's my thing. A lot of people say, oh, she's not ducking, but the question is she ready? In this specific date that's coming into play, March 11th, it doesn't sound like Cat's ready from what I'm hearing, because somebody might put this in your ear and say, okay, Cris Cyborg refused a drug test. You might hear that. Did she tell you that specifically? Or did somebody else just kind of whisper that to you to kind of throw it off? I'm like, which is it? Right? But whenever Cris Cyborg takes to Twitter like this and she just straight up says, look, Cat, why are you lying? I didn't refuse any drug tests. I'm ready whenever you are. That doesn't sound like a fighter that is juicing again or, trying to mess up her career at this point or avoiding a fight with you, Cat. To me, that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing more of a fighter in Cat Zingano who might not be prepared for this fight yet. Because it's like I said a few days ago, or even before this whole thing went down, this is what I said. This is the most logical way to look at it. Look at it like I'm looking at it. Okay. Scott Coker had announced this fight. He said this fight was the fight they wanted March 11th, right? And I said, I don't think that's a good idea because Cat hasn't even fought a ranked opponent yet. Cat has not fought a ranked opponent. She hasn't fought in almost over a year, April 2021 against Gabby Holloway. That was her last fight. Gabby Holloway, before that, it was Liv Parker, right? Two fighters that aren't even ranked, and it was like spaced out time in between. So she hasn't been very active. Number one, she hasn't been very active. Number two, she hasn't fought a ranked fighter, right? So does that really sound like somebody that's ready for Cris Cyborg when you really think about it? Cris Cyborg, since he signed to Bellator, 4 or 5 fights, won the belt, already defended it quite a few number of times, active champion. That sounds like somebody that's ready. That doesn't sound like somebody that's, even on the juice train right now either. I mean, fighter that's got that many fights doesn't sound like somebody that's, juicing. They're testing often. So that's just not really going for me. That's not really a go for me. I think Cat Zingano right now just is not ready. Is she ducking? I don't know. But is she not ready? I don't think so. I don't think so. Because when it comes down to it, more people from behind the scenes seem to be saying that Cat wants another fight. In another tweet from Cat, she said that I've already got an opponent ready that's going to be a number 1 contender. But then she tries to kind of throw in that this will give somebody time to get their ish together, meaning maybe Cris needs to cycle something out. Like she kind of threw that out there again. But I'm thinking it's more down to Cat Zingano just not being ready yet. That's what it is. Like, time has been flying and she hasn't been as active. So now that crunch time is coming and Cris is running through these other featherweights, she's like, oh, snap, I got to get ready for my chance. She's like, March 11th, oh, no, I'm not ready yet. I got to get another fight. That's what it kind of seems like to me, It's just a situation where time was flying and Cris was running through these other fighters, and then Cat realized that, oh, I haven't fought since April 2021, and I haven't even fought one of these top 10 featherweights yet, So now, when that name comes up and that date comes up, it's like, okay, now we need to make a number 1 contender fight. Which, again, that makes sense. So I think it should just come down to Cat just being real and just being honest and saying, look, I'm not ready for Cris Cyborg. I do want to fight somebody else first. Like, even when Chris's name came up, just say, okay, I want to fight her eventually. Just for this situation, like, I want to fight her eventually, but I haven't been as active, so let me get back into the top 5 or top 10 names. Let me beat one of these fighters. That's all she had to do. That's all she had to say, because I would understand. She hadn't been very active since she's been in Bellator, right? I have to keep throwing that out there. So I don't think it's a factor of Cris juicing. Maybe they're saying that just to kind of save face, to, kind of make themselves look good, their team, Cat, but I don't think that's a good look, though, to say that type of stuff. Might be good for a backstory. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. It's definitely good to it's definitely good drama to build up. I ain't gonna lie. It's good on that aspect. But as far as your reputation of saying so-and-so is dirty, that's not good. That's not really good to me. But my thing is, when it comes down to it now, I'll say this, my final thoughts. Cat Zingano, take this as an opportunity is just to use it as build up now. Secure a fight on March 11th. And then I say this to Cris. Cris Cyborg, you secure a fight on March 11th as well. On the same card, Cat versus Arlene Blencowe as the co-main event, and Cris Cyborg versus another featherweight contender as the main event. And then it goes from there. So that way y'all have the same turnaround time, and y'all can come back on the same night, in the same octagon. Y'all can share that same octagon in the summertime, right? That's the best way to do it, I think, at this point. Fight on the same card, y'all separate opponents, then summertime, hey, y'all can say, okay, well, let's do it. No more excuses. You got what you need to get, you got what you needed out of this last fight. Now you can fight for the title. That's how I think it should go. But yeah, I just think that it comes down to Cat not being ready. Like, I'm not saying anybody's scared or anybody's ducking, because she did sign to Bellator. She did sign where the champion is, and she did jump into the division where Cris Cyborg is. But I think it's just a matter of getting her ducks in a row. That's all it is, I think. So they just kind of need to be honest with themselves and just put it that way. Like, I don't think Cris is, juicing this point. Like I said, I don't ever know, like, for sure. I don't know because I'm not behind the scenes, but she pretty much made it clear right here. Again, look, Cat, why are you lying? I haven't refused any drug test. I'm ready whenever you are. Behind the scenes, you keep saying to Bellator, you need more time to prepare for me. You need a different opponent first. Now you go on social media and lies and smear campaigns and excuses. Sad. So everything she's saying right there in between too is what Cat needs to be doing. Get you another, get you an opponent that's going to get you ready. Not a Liv Parker or Gabby Holloway. You need that Arlene Blencowe or Janae Harding or whoever that's in the division. Pam Bam, any of those fighters. Fight some of them. That's what you need. So yeah, man, that's my thoughts on that. Like, I had to go a little bit more in depth because I caught that reply tweet there from Cris Cyborg there, because I saw the other one that she had posted. But I had to bring that one up because that really sums up what I've been saying. Like, if she's not ready, just say so. Just say so, right? But what else? What else do we need to talk about here? Oh, yeah. Let's talk about these flyweights a little bit. Let's talk about the flyweight division here as far as these young fighters here. What I call them, these little young knuckleheads. I did my videos, I talked about Aaron Blanchfield and Casey O'Neill. They did their little interviews talking about, of course, the champion, right? They both gave their takes on Valentina Shevchenko and facing her one day. But like I said, I'm going to go a little bit easier on these fighters because they are carrying that fighter energy. And somebody with the moniker cold-blooded and just Casey O'Neill's attitude, they're going to answer this question, and they're going to answer it with confidence and maybe a little bit of brashness. Let's be honest. If you look at Casey O'Neill's face, she's like a no-nonsense person. She carries herself like that, right? Then you look at Aaron Blanchfield, she sounds the same way, a little smug and, carries that name cold-blooded. She's always ready to fight. So if you bring up the champion's name, they are going to mention the champion in a way where it's like, okay, one day we can get there, and yes, we have the confidence to beat her, right? I respect that. So let's put it on the interviewers. Let's talk to these interviews. Let's tell these interviews, look, stop asking these fighters about Valentina Shevchenko. I'm telling you, man, like, stop asking these fighters about Valentina Shevchenko. Stop bringing her name up. Let's talk about the fighters around. I mean, you can ask about it. Just say something like, okay, what do you think of Valentina Shevchenko? Like, what do you think of her title reign? Like, or what type of influence is she on you? Just because she's been around that long and she's been, reigning for that long. But don't say you think you can take on Valentina Shevchenko one day, or like, what do you think of her as a champion as far as, you getting in there? Like, what kind of problems could you present to the champion, right? Some of these people ask those type of questions. You like, oh, man, don't ask that, because they're going to go off and blow smoke, and you're going to be like, oh, no, they're not ready. Because, for one, these fighters could answer these questions in some way and say, oh, I feel like I have this. I feel like I have that. But a lot can change in between the next 2 years. You could take a couple of L's and your confidence is going to change, right? Somebody else on the way up could knock you out and you won't be the same fighter. You could lose your kung fu. That's how it goes sometimes. That's why I'm like, let's keep it in the same realm. Let's keep it in the realm where we are. And I think these interviews, they need to kind of keep it that way. Like, you never hear me talk to some of these other fighters and just start, bringing up big names and saying, oh, you got it, champ. You got it one day. No, you still got a lot of work to do. Y'all still got a lot of work to do. All these fighters I took, they still got work to do, and there's no problem with that because that's where you are on the ground floor working your way up, right? It's like if I talk to a high school student, just interviewing a high school student, I'm not going to say, look, oh, man, how much you going to be making as a surgeon one day? He don't know that. He don't even know if he want to be a surgeon for sure, all right? He don't even know what school he's going to go to, right? He don't even know if he wants to, he don't even know if he wants to finish high school. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those situations where these interviews, they have to keep it in the same realm and keep these fighters humble. It's up to the interviewers too to humble these fighters as well. Kind of, keep the champion in a different light than these fighters so they understand the hard work, right? And I think that's what they, I think that's what'll help them along the way. But yeah, like with Erin, I think that she is laying down the hard work. But like I said, I think it's just, I don't know, maybe it's just her choice of words, but if she thinks that way for real, like with Valentina as a hype train, maybe her definition of a hype train is different, or maybe she's just thinking that way about Valentina. Maybe she like, oh, Valentina ain't that good. That's not a good mind frame. That's not a good mind frame. I'm thinking that a person from Jersey would know what a hype train means. I would understand more so if you were overseas, but I'm thinking Erin knows what a hype train is, so I don't know how she got that idea that Valentina was ever a hype train. I never thought of Valentina as a hype train. Paige Van Zandt, a hype train. Macy Barber was a hype train, right? Those are hype trains, but everything that this lady got, it's been hard work and, stacking bodies up, so that's all her. That's just all her. It's nobody behind her, like pushing her to make you believe she's the best. She is the best by stacking the bodies on the resume, So yeah, I just think that these young fighters, they have to take it step by step and take it upon themselves to kind of avoid that question. And just say, I got some, names around me right now I'm targeting, but the Valentina fight, that's far off. That's far off. So I think Erin in that aspect, maybe she is thinking of a hype train in a different way, but I still think she's laying down the groundwork. I don't think she's a fighter that's going to ignore the task in front of her because, like I said, I've seen the growth in her and the improvements and the fact that, she is going for gold. She still likes to be dominant. So she is about her 3Ds. She is about, well, I'll tell you, she's about her dominance and discipline, but defense is what she got to work on, which I'm going to do a video one day. We're going to do a video. We're going to test the 3Ds on them: dominance, defense, and discipline. We're going to go through, I'm going to pull up names. I'm going to pull up pictures, and we're going to say if they got the 3Ds. All right, we're going to do that one day. But, yeah, Casey O'Neal's side, like I said, Casey O'Neal, for a fighter, that carries herself pretty high. She goes in there and she talks her trash. She actually, answered the question in a very respectful way, I think. When she was asked about Valentina Shevchenko, she did say that, okay, she is an amazing champion, but everybody can be beat. And that's what I do want the younger fighters to realize. I don't want them to overly respect champions or overly respect these fighters that they're in the same division with. I do want them to see that one day they can get there. And when you get there, it's your time. I do want them to see that. Like, I don't want them to go in there overly respecting, saying, oh man, this person's unbeatable. I don't know. I'm just glad to be in the octagon with him. It's not like that. You have to be like, this person's not perfect. I can expose them. But that's when you get there. So I think Casey O'Neal has it in her mindset that she knows that Valentina's not perfect, because that's what I always tell y'all, even in my past video. I never said Valentina's perfect or invincible, but what keeps her in her own lane is the hard work. Like, she makes it look easy because she works hard, right? You make it look easy by working hard, and that's what she does, right? So all these other fighters that see Valentina, they need to follow in her footsteps. That's where it starts. Like, you need to go and take notes on her and see what she's doing to make this thing look easy. Like, don't just watch her fights. Like, see what she does and how she carries herself and why it looks easy. So for Casey O'Neal, you want to be that one to say, okay, I can stop her one day, or, she's keeping her belt warm for me and I'm going to be that one, like Juliana Pena was to Nunes. If you want to be that one, you have to take notes and, kind of mimic yourself the same way as that champion, and then say, okay, where can I be better than the champion, right? That's where it all starts. That's where it all starts for these champions. Like they always say, if you want to play, you want to learn how to play tennis, you surround yourself with great tennis players. I remember I heard that in film school. Like, a teacher told me that, like, didn't even say anything about film. He was just like, if you want to learn how to play tennis, you surround yourself with great tennis players, not novices like yourself, right? So that makes sense, so you should always kind of follow in those footsteps of those great fighters. Don't think of them as height trains or things like that. Just see what got them there and where you could do better, all right? So that's what it all comes down to. That's why I think a lot of these young fighters, they got to go back and just lay the groundwork down. Graduate from your level, call out names around you, call out the Manones, the Montanas, the Macy's, the Caseys, the Grassos, the 10 and belows, make them little tournaments yourself. That's what I'm saying. Like Aaron and them, make your little tournament yourself. Call out the names around there, weed them out, get to the mid-tier, go from there. And then when you get to like 5 and 6, start calling out the champion, right? That's all it is, right? Because sometimes, like I said, whenever you get into that mode where you kind of, whenever interviewers and yourself and your team start bringing up Valentina around you, you're going to think that it's right there, or it's in your sights. It's not in your sights yet. At number 15 or unranked, it's not in your sights. Believe me, it's not in your sights unless they are hyping you. It's not in your sights yet, because you see Macy Barber almost thought she was there, but she got knocked down real quick. Roxy took her down, Grasso took her down. Now she's fighting Montana because they try to push her too fast. So there's a process to this game now. There's a process, and I've been watching combat sports for a very, very long time now, where I've seen and I knew when guys were going to be hype jobs, and I was like, there they go. Because there's one particular fighter I'm thinking of right now where they was like, this was like 17 years ago, 18 years ago, and they thought this guy was going to be the next guy to beat Floyd Mayweather. And I saw like, okay, he calling out Floyd Mayweather, and y'all hyping him up to beat Floyd Mayweather. Same night he gets knocked out on the undercard of a fight, a big fight. And I was like, there he goes. And from there he was gone, So I watch these fights like that. I really do, and I watch who's going to be built up. And that's why I'm saying, like, when I see Manone and Casey, I see a difference there. That's why I hope that, Casey is really, really working hard to make improvements, because the machine is really, really trying to hype her up. And like I said, that's no disrespect to her. That's to the machine that's hyping her up. Like, they'll push her fast like they did Macy before they're even ready. And I can already see something in these fighters where they can't even beat the Mayas and the Murphys yet. And then they wind up losing horribly, right? Whereas Manone is a little bit more established at her age, and she's accomplished more. She looks more polished. That's why I can, kind of look at her and say, this lady right here could beat Caitlin or Andrade and be a good contender one day, right? So it just comes down to that, man, like the hard work. Like, I think these fighters, they just have to be kind of spaced out and humbled there. Like, they have to be seen as the lesser opponents right now until they can really, really do something big. So yeah, like I said, like, ain't nothing you ain't gonna hear me call them bums now for calling her out. Like, no, I love to watch these girls fight. Aaron, I love the energy, but pick your words wisely, and just remember that the task is still far ahead, and you still got to graduate, because this top 15 is broken up into like 3-4 tiers where you got to step out of the box of each one, right? So that's all I'm saying, Yeah, definitely. Yeah, focus on what's around you. That's what it comes down to. That's what it all comes down to for me. I love the energy again. I love to hear these fighters talk that trash. But when it comes to Valentina, there is no hype train. There is no hype train there, and there's not Valentina just keeping that belt warm. That's hers. And if you want it, you got to kill her to take it, right? So yeah, man. That's pretty much all I got on this episode, I think. Flyweight schedule is looking pretty solid over the next few months up to May. I think we got a good 10 fights, fingers crossed. Everybody from Agapova to Moreau to Andrea Lee to Viviane Araújo. I'm going to have to talk about it in a live stream. I think, by the time I put this episode out, live stream will already be out. But, yeah, what else? What else is going on that we need to talk about? Not much else in this episode. I mean, I might drop another episode quicker if there is something I feel I did miss. But, yeah, man, it's just a step-by-step process. Like, my final thoughts, it's just a step-by-step process. I think that these fighters, they have to understand that we have to stay on this level. One day we'll get there. And when people ask about it, just say, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. We'll get there, right? But, yeah, man, I'm getting out of here, guys. Like always, make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel, Combo Breaker 99, and all the platforms I just named earlier, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, all of that. Make sure y'all always thumbs up and subscribe and, comment, do whatever. Make sure you share the videos. And, like I say, I like the traffic there. I love when y'all always come through and just, give your points here and there. But, yeah, we'll be back with another episode, y'all, because, this WMMA game is getting deeper. It's getting deeper. We always got something to talk about over here. So, yeah, I'll catch y'all on the next one. Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.